to Advisory Live at Digital Accountancy Week. My name is Joe, I'm from Nepos, and I've got Dave Sellick here with me from Sidgrove. Dave, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I am the founder of Sidgrove. I work exclusively with startup businesses. I work with around sort of 30 plus clients, and I've been running my practice full time for about a year and a half now. And I guess what we're talking about today in relation to advisory is very key to the approach I have at Sidgrove. I kind of take on really very much a sort of head of or virtual head of finance role with all of the businesses that I work with. Sidgrove was inspired from really kind of a purpose-led approach of having worked within industry with various startups for around 7 years. I just felt that we really need to deliver a whole new level of kind of better to early stage businesses. And that's really where Sidgrove was born and what it's all about.
Great, thanks, Dave.
That's me.
My name's Joe from Nepos. We are a practice in the Southwest in Cheltenham. We've been going for about 6.5 years now. My background was born out of industry and management accounting as a career. When we set up the practice, that kind of was what was kind of from our kind of heart and passion from day one. So we've been, again, to this subject of advisory, I think for both myself and Dave, this has been kind of born out of what we are kind of believe in and a real passion for. So we've got, as a practice now, we have 9 staff with about 200-ish clients, range of sectors, range of size, but you're kind of typical practice, but with a real advisory heart to it.
Be good to maybe take people through some of the kind of the things we use or kind of what we think is important around advisory. How do you do it? What apps do we use? And starting from a kind of initial stance of actually, what do we perceive advisory as? Where does the line finish from compliance through to advisory? And kind of what's your take on that, Joe?
Yeah, and I think there's a blurred line there, isn't there, with without offending anyone on this call, the traditional practice that likes to say that they might offer advisory services, when ultimately what they're doing is providing a P&L or balance sheet, something along those lines from a system, which might be up to date and might be real time, but actually where's the analysis, where's the commentary, where's the detail, all those bits and pieces. And for me, commentary is what makes, the analysis is what makes it the advisory, because that then gives you the opportunity to offer the advice in the word advisory, So for me, the key there is not just going, we're a compliance-based practice. What we'll do is we'll get everybody up to date and we'll fire out some P&Ls from Xero with nothing else. Great, we're now advisors. That isn't the key for me. The key for me is really delving in and understanding the numbers. And that is a learned art as well. You do need, that's not something you can just do overnight. That is something you need to practice, I think. But I think, if we talk on apps, because this is, at the end of the day, this is a digital accountancy kind of show, if you like. So if we touch on the apps, and we've spoken about this, Dave, but we start off with the basics with Receipt Bank, with Xero. We're 100% Xero practice, and we use.
So just on that, Joe, just quickly jumping in. So you would say that is a key app in your advisory process. You'd say, even that basic.
Again, you can talk for. I know you use a similar app, but slightly different. But for me, when we talked about this, Dave, what we want to be able to do is we want to automate as best we can. The boring stuff, the mundane stuff, the stuff that adds no real value to the client. That's what we want to, and a lot of accountants over the last few years have said, but if we automate this, how can we charge, X, Y, and Z? But the difference now is that we don't charge for the automation part, we do, but a small fee. We charge for the real added value advice that we're giving over here. And it becomes that investment rather than that cost that's talked about. So for us, we use these tools, and that's why they're core. And that's what, people would sit here and go, Receipt Bank isn't a core advisory app. No, it isn't. But actually it's core to us delivering a really powerful advisory service.
Yeah, so it's a means to the end. So actually you're saying the foundations of being able to deliver quality advisory is engaging with these amazing apps that are now in the space, in terms of just like literally from data input perspective, which you'd consider be like, that helps me with compliance and VAT reporting, and that's not really advisory, but actually that's your foundation, right?
Correct. And when people have used the term over the last few years, compliance is dead and things like that, I completely disagree with that, because compliance is the core to the advisory being accurate and right. And that, for me, that is, I had a really interesting, this is slightly off topic, I had a really interesting conversation with a client this morning, and we're talking about some really fairly decently sized businesses. So we're talking maybe between 10 and 20 million pounds turnover businesses. So someone that you consider fairly decent size, right? And they were discussing that they're doing a kind of business plan presentation as a group, these businesses, and the accountants in these larger businesses sat there and said, "We'll produce you a business plan just for your meeting." And I'm kind of sat there thinking, why are they just producing this business plan just for this meeting? Do you know what I mean? Like, they should be producing this and analyzing this every single month, but they're not. And that's what I really found that fascinating, that the accountant saw that as a chore rather than something that they would enjoy doing. And that's the key difference for us, is we love this stuff. We love the advisory stuff. And I think it's the same for you.
Yeah, 100%. And how do you get to that place of kind of going beyond, oh, this is a job, this is something we need to do? And how do you, how are you able to get to a place where you have that kind of relationship with your clients where, yeah, you can almost enjoy the interactions? Because I know there's probably a lot of accountants out there who kind of see the notification come into their inbox or whatever, they use a messaging service with their clients or whatever, or a phone call, and oh God, I've got so much to do, I can't take this call. And it's very easy to slip into that mindset, right? Rather than being, oh, amazing, like what's going on with these guys now today? Like, I'm super excited to hear what the latest update is.
Yeah.
How do you...
I've sat on calls with clients where I've sat in on a board meeting on Zoom, for example, and I've had Zoom on one screen and I've had my kind of day-to-day emails or what have you on the other screen. And I'm just kind of listening in and just, I'm not necessarily supposed to be part of that call, but I just really want to listen in and really understand, and, a few little nuggets here and there that come out of it that really help you when you're analyzing the numbers. And I think sometimes, accountants, are very, every hour we have to bill for type thing. And actually, an element of this is a bit of kind of business development as well, if that makes sense. Really understanding that client really gives you the opportunity to advise. But we're coming off the app stack subject there a little bit, aren't we? So Dave, what are you?
Well, similar to you. So yeah, my foundations, I think we both agreed on the fact that really the foundations and the kind of, I believe the default should be, and it's amazing how many accounts aren't using it, is a Xero or a QuickBooks or just a cloud-based accounting software that has the API interface to feed into or feed from an OCR, so a receipt bank or a data molino or an auto entry or something, or a HubDoc or one of those apps. So I use Data Molino with all my clients. I just happen to really like the interface. I've used Receipt Bank for years as well. A couple of my clients are on that, but absolutely, those are the foundation. And I think quite unusually for me, I tie the way I use Xero and things like an OCR into the kind of specific unusual tech that I use. So, at the moment, as you know, I didn't really say at the beginning, but it's just me and I'm considering next steps for scaling Xero. But, I've been working on something super innovative to that theme of how do we do advisory? Well, we need to free up the time to be able to do it. So yeah, that comes from using the cloud, and using all the tools within Xero, such as the bank rules and the automation and the OCR, receipt gathering and all things like that. And, for bigger companies where you're doing expenses, then the Plios and the Soldos, etc. Which I don't use, but I would use if I'm working with bigger clients and it becomes relevant. But yeah, I also use the kind of crazy tech in front of me. So many people will be aware if I just flick to my behind camera of kind of the technology that I use, which is this Elgato Stream Deck setup. And I'll just flick on to the other, another cam just to show you a bit closer up. But these are essentially gaming devices that I program to be able to do functions within the practice, whether it be navigate reports or flick to various client bits and pieces, or even flicking out of here, you probably won't be able to see very well, but like I've got a whole list of Data Molino specific like actions. And if I come down here, I can bookkeep for various clients, again, within the Data Molino interface using buttons. So yeah, I kind of take a really kind of crazily curious approach to how do we free up time? How are we using tools within the data input process, which is the key here. So your Xero, your Data Molino, and then how do we take that even further to free up the time so we can do advisory? And I think I'd almost use, is it the Pareto approach or whatever? Like there's an 80-20 approach to kind of, I'm aiming to automate 80%. So that 20%, I can spend 80% of my time on. So that being the client advisory stuff.
And that's exactly that. And yeah, we talked about the stream decks that you've got there and the workflow, and but just for the people that are watching this and thinking, whoa, that's like, but you're doing this because everybody's going to be watching, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to be watching this thinking, all sounds great, guys, but where's the time going to come from? And that's what we're trying to say here, is all the tools that we use are used to make our lives more efficient, and therefore, and our clients' lives more efficient, to therefore give us that time back in order to advise. That's the real key, I think, there, isn't it? That people might miss when they're thinking of advisory.
Exactly. So that's step one. And let's crack through to the kind of like core, I guess, because really great point. We set the foundations. We're like, we need to, we both feel that you need to be on cloud. You need to be using this great technology around data input, and really realize that is so important for advisors. You don't just go fast track through to financial models and beautiful graphics. Let's get our foundations in place. And then from there, I guess I'd love to know, Joe, we've got kind of just over 5 minutes left or so. So what are you actually using then? So like we've got our foundations, our data in there. Let's say we've got now some great stuff that we want to communicate to the client and deliver this advisory. What apps are you using, and how are you engaging with the client?
Yeah, so we'll use this, like I say, I know we're short time now, but we'll use this time now to have a real quick demo of some of the things we use. So I'm just going to really quickly share my screen, and then I know you're going to really quickly share your screen after, Dave. So if we jump into, I'm just going to minimize the control panel if I do now. Get out of the way. So can you see my screen?
We're all good, yeah.
So this is Fathom. Some people may or may not know this. So Fathom is a kind of ball pack production tool. This is one of the core tools that we use to present. So we will present obviously we've taken out any references to clients. We'll present what I think is really nice looking reports that come from Xero. We also use Excel. So I think Dave and I both agree, forecasting wise is all done through Excel. We don't use any forecasting apps for cash flow or three-way forecasting. It's all done through Excel, and I'll show you a quick example of that in a minute. But as you can see, it's just a nice looking. We offer real, like I say, granular commentary in here, some KPIs. Just giving the clients a really useful.
And are those, Joe, bespoke to your clients? You'll go through a process presumably of like honing on which ones are absolutely useful for those clients. So spot on.
What we send out is bespoke. So this has been particularly picked for this particular client who is in the recruitment sector.
And that's important, right? That's super important, I think, for us to get across, that you're not just picking the Fathom and going, right, roll it out. What's the sort of default interface? You're going and actually, you're using these tools to really help you to speed up the process, fast track it, beautiful insight. But you're really making sure that you configure them right, and you're not showing stuff they don't need to see, or too little, either or.
Yeah, correct. And like this is an example here, this is individual consultants. It's a P&L based on individual consultants, how much money they've made, etc. But then also as we come, I'll just quickly flick down the list. What Fathom will allow you also to do is bring in non-financial information. So for example, we've got here the number of invoices that have been issued. So we can see, how many invoices have been issued in the month to really, again, graphically view what's changed. We can also then view things like margin per customer. We can do revenue per employee by being able to put the number of employees in and multiply that off, or divide that off the back of the revenue. So that's our kind of, I'll be quick, but that's our ballpark.
No, that's amazing. That's all amazing insights, beautifully kind of visualized there and stuff. And how would you then communicate it to clients? You'd then have a meeting, or you'd have a call, or how would you do it?
We'll use Loom.
Amazing.
To record an overview. So I will, in a much more longer format than that, go through and say, here's a set of accounts. Let's talk through, we'll talk through the executive summary, key points, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll send that to them alongside the pack. An idea that you use, that you're going to touch on quickly at the end, is something we're going to look at implementing, I think, in the not too distant future, and embed the Loom video into that. But that's how we do it. And then we'll have a Zoom call with them if they so wish. Otherwise, the Loom video is sufficient. But
so jumping in quickly, anyone not using Loom, loom.com, it's an amazing bit of tech. It's been kind of progressing over the last year or so. Essentially the ability to record your screen in a video of your face kind of in the corner or whatever, if you like, and then generate a link instantly to share with a client. It embeds into a lot of software. It's incredible. It's definitely something anyone looking to do video with their clients, and they should take a look at.
100%. And also just quickly on that, is if you're not too fussed on the amazing quality of the video, then you can do it for free, completely free.
Yeah.
So if you pay for the services, you get HD quality type videos, but at that stage, you can.
Yeah, importantly, it's free. So just crack on.
Excel, because I just want to touch on this, because, Excel and accountants, it's always been the baby, and then it's kind of been the swear word in the world because of all these apps and text. But, Dave's going to show you some of his Excel wonders in a minute. But, this is just a really basic example of a P&L forecast that we've created off the back of actuals where we're using, formulas and lookups and things like that in order to create, some basic analysis in here. And then you can pull these out and you can see a few notes and prior years, and what we're trying to do is this, for me, Excel is still the main tool for, like I say, for forecasting, for cash flows, for budget preparation, real data analysis. We take a lot of data out of Xero and we do a lot of transactional detail breakdown so that we can really understand the numbers, because again, that's also important. It's not just the high levels, it's also the real detail inside it. And then lastly, we do use Clarity. So Clarity it has 7 key numbers, which they born out of 2 former accountants that ran very successful advisory-based practices. And then what we do is we run off an action plan for that client, with who does what and by when, so everybody knows who's got a job and when they've got to do it, just to keep everybody accountable. Because again, we kind of delve into that kind of coaching area as well. And like I say, we offer quite a lot of advisory packages, and this is what we send out to clients so they kind of know exactly what they're getting from it. So I will stop talking and sharing, and Dave.
Amazing. No, but that's great though, because there's a few things for people to just explore. And I think that's kind of the point of this conversation, is to kind of, yes, outline our thoughts towards advisory, but actually go, hey, here's a few things that you can go and explore. There's no right answer. I think that's also a key takeaway. There's no right answer to how you do advisory. No one's, do you do it right for your customer base and what works for your team? The practice and how it's set up. So, those are a few really cool ideas to check out. Sweet. I'm just going to crack on and show you maybe a little bit kind of how I do things. So let me share my screen.
The real interesting factor with me and Dave here is we both have the same passion and the same core values, but we both do it in a really slightly different way, but also a very different way. Does that make sense, Dave? Right? And it's really interesting how we both differ here. We have a business that's got staff and is trying to scale, and at the moment, Dave just on his own. There are some differences, aren't there, in the way we deliver this?
Well, 100%. And that actually is really key to why I haven't scaled Xero. I haven't gone the app route. I think, part of that's because I'm a perfectionist. Part of it's because I had a vision when I was head of finance for this is what I want to achieve. And that was what was more important for me than maybe growing a big practice per se. But ultimately, longer term, it will, I think, lead to growing a big practice. And I'm still trying to work out whether I work with accountants to get there or do it myself. And that's really a lifestyle thing. I'm training as a yoga instructor at the moment. I've got other things going on. I'm a DJ, and it's just I'm trying to work out where I go with things. But very much I'm focused on, okay, how can we take it to a whole nother level? And I still and again, this is what I believe with my clients, fast growing startups. Being heavily challenged by these guys for the most on point, insight. I'm having to sort of use some pretty crazy tools to do that. But yeah, I used to use Excel, and let me just take you through. Where are we? Let's just share my screen. Can you see that Excel report now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just literally going to flick through the interface here. So whereas Joe will use an app, I did explore these for a bit, but I just found too often I found founders and even myself were kind of wanting to move things around, customize, and I just couldn't do that in the app in quite the same way as I could in Excel. So here, I will input from datadear. So all the way down the bottom here, I will do an input. And this is actually, I've had to desensitize this. This is a fake business, so it's not my most up-to-date report, but I'm inputting, go on.
Datadear, for those that don't know.
So Datadear is essentially an app interface to Excel, an add-on that will pull directly from Xero. So this information pulls directly from Xero. I then condition the data and effectively, I can't go into detail here, but pull together a detailed set of balance sheets, indirect cash flow, P&L, and then do various things with it. So I will focus a lot on kind of the detailed waterfalls I've created here for client insight, quickly identifying variances from budget or last month. Then I move on to a more summarized set of variance analysis, a few different graphs and things that I will work with the clients to develop out. So there'll be some fundamentals here that I'll look at in terms of insight, but then I'll also work with the client to develop things, which is the beauty of Excel. I can use this as a core report. I can easily replicate with different clients and automates, by the way, and then I can come in and create my own thing. So more recently, I've been focusing on things such as like the taxes that are currently due, break-even analysis, even things like lifestyle break-even analysis for founders and bits and pieces like that. So there kind of aesthetically is kind of what you can do with Excel. And then from here, I press print to PDF and it'd print it. I can change the dates here and it will just change. I'll pull in the new Xero data and change the date, and it's all automated and everything's dynamic. So you can do this in Excel. It's what I use. And then the interface, and then the output will look a little bit like this because I'll upload it into an ebook, and that's how I'll share it with clients. So from there, just to give people an idea of kind of where do I take it from there? Well, let me just show you very quickly here what the monthly check-ins will look in with clients. So I use a bit of tech called Notion and have these kind of one pages with each of the companies I work with, where I will kind of keep all the information of kind of what I'm working on, bits and pieces, so they have that transparency. And all their accounts are also kept within here. So they can view the accounts directly from in here as an ebook, or they can also come in here. And this is where I'll do the bulk of, let's call the monthly advisory service, my core service. And that's where I want to focus, which is not on forecasting and modeling and all that kind of stuff, which I'll just jump into in very, very briefly in a second, but mainly on just this monthly check-in, looking at the management accounts, putting them together, then key thing, picking up on key areas, feeding it back via video. So embedding it in here as a Loom video, action points, and then some space for client questions, and then obviously can book in time with me. So this forms a really key part of that advisory service, that structure around the monthly check-in, and actually focusing on actuals. I do work with clients and things like sort of financial models and stuff, and mine look maybe a little bit different within Excel. I've got these very elaborate kind of dashboards where I work with clients on a kind of real-time basis on Zoom calls to completely transform their models very, very quickly. I work a lot with companies that are looking to raise funds and stuff like that. So, they need this kind of like nice looking model interface and sort of output. And I've been very much obsessed with how do we do this in a really quick, efficient way. And yeah, this dials back into the management accounts, but we won't go there. And I'll leave it there, I think.
Just quickly on that, though, Dave, for those people that are looking at that thinking, wow, that looks really good, but, how do I even possibly get into that? Would you say that it's one of those things that takes a bit of time to get set up, but once you're set up, it's straightforward in inverted commas to roll with? How Notion, especially we use Notion not quite in the same way you do, but Notion is, like you say, we've talked about before, very difficult to not make things look beautiful in that bit of software. So, and that is one you should look at. But the Excel side of things, how much time does that take?
100%. I mean, I literally rattled through there, stumbling over my words because we just don't have any time. We're pretty much out of time. But I think it's just, this conversation really has, Joe, just been to instill a little bit of curiosity and as to kind of what's out there, to very much show people actually how do we do it very quickly. I can't show anyone right now like how to put these things together. It takes time. It's actually something that I'm working on at the moment behind the scenes. I can't say too much about it for now, but I am working on a space where we can collaborate as accountants and share information about how to build stuff like this in Excel. I'm not saying you would build stuff exactly like this, but I'm saying that accountants, Excel is an amazing tool, and accountants, by using Excel better, could actually achieve a lot of what some of the apps are doing in a way that's more customizable for them and appropriate for them as a practice. That's not to say there isn't a space for the apps, but yeah, I just believe to take things to another level, which is kind of the space that I operate in, Excel is still the right tool. And I know there's a lot of accountants out there who want to use it better. And I just want to also show right there, like prove that, it can look beautiful. And I am using it in an automated way, and it is feeding in directly from Xero. And when you're producing forecasts and models, like they can look like the ones very similar to, the Futuries and the Spotlights, yet giving you like the most unreal ability to customize it. Like, within sort of 5 minutes, you can completely change the whole structure of it. So it's just curiosity thing. Yes, I understand for accountants it's super hard to find this information. I think, watch this space. Certainly for me, it's something I really want to talk more openly about and share information in relation to.
A lot of people would be really keen to see that. So look, we're probably over time. We're probably going to get told off for this now. So let's just do our final thoughts here. So one key takeaway or one key bit of tech that you want to kind of say, Dave, that is for someone to take away right now and start this?
Yeah, 100%. So for me, key takeaway from my perspective, which we didn't even really touch on too much, which is like advisory doesn't have to be modeling, forecasting, the fancy kind of, graphical insight. It can just be that really quality, consistent monthly check-in with clients, the live support that you give, the advice you give. And so I would say things like, I don't know, I really would love to see more people doing things like the Notion one pager, where clients can go and, where you can share and collaborate more regularly there, where you can embed things like video, embed ebooks, and you can have that communication and visibility to the client. And that's, for me, that's huge. And so focusing on quality monthly accounts and some good key takeaways there and delivering it with structure with something like the Notion interface.
Yeah, I think that's key. And, I'll jump in there and say, our minimum, for example, we'll only do quarterly bookkeeping as a minimum. So, we won't do 6 monthly, we won't do annually. So the minimum we're seeing clients is quarterly. And that, like you said, that's key to the advisory. I just want to give a really quick, I'm just going to share my screen again. I just want to give a really, really quick, something that you could really quickly do. I'm not going to be able to get into Xero now, am I? This could be awkward.
Where's your dash lane? Where's your tech?
It's because I'm borrowing someone's laptop. For the keen eyes out there, you'll see in the top corner that's not my name. Sorry, this is definitely.
This is where you want to press pause, isn't it? That's the beauty of Loom. If you use Loom, you can just you can keep things really concise to your clients by pressing pause when you stumble over bits like this. That's something that I didn't mention, but our clients' time is super valuable. So everything we deliver to them, we want to make it as beautiful as possible. We want to use tools that communicate with impact, and get onto video.
Thank you. So look, come into this demo company. I'm sure we've all seen Xero. Come into the P&L, and when it loads, many people, I'm sure, understand that you can edit the layout in Xero. And what that allows you to do, there's a few things you can do here. Some people don't know this. So you can put in rows and columns. So if we just stick in, a column at the end, and another column again at the end, you can put in any kind of formula you want into here to create some year to date, some comparatives, you can put budget figures in, etc., etc. But also at the bottom, you can put in some notes. So here you've got a text field. So if let's just drop in 4 text fields, and if we just click done, well, that means, it won't let me do these columns because I've put anything in. But let's just pretend that we had some columns in there with some formulas. I'm sure as accountants we can visualize formulas. And then at the bottom now we've got some text here. So a really, really simple thing you could do here is put, sales analysis, I can't spell, sales are down, etc., etc., etc. Now that is really, really, really simple. And then we can file that straight out to a PDF. And I think you don't need really nice looking complicated Excel spreadsheets. You don't need to spend a load of money on Fathom or something like that. At a real basic level, I don't know why that's not downloading, at a real basic level, let's just give the clients some real-time data here, but then some nice looking analysis at the bottom, and talk it through the Loom video and use a Notion page to share it with them. That would be my real quick takeaway there for someone that wants to. Yeah,
you've done all the work, right? You've done all the hard work. And it's like me as a DJ rocking up to a venue with a USB, the old approach of just give them set management accounts, rocking up and then passing over the USB to the bar and going, guys, I have worked so hard to get that playlist together. There are some absolute bangers on there. Crack on and DJ. They're like, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to do that. Like, oh, right. So, okay, I might as well get behind the decks and finish it off then, because that's where all the value is. And I think that's the same here, which is, you're almost rocking up with the USB and just dropping off and not playing, not entertaining the crowd. Like, actually do the final bit, put the cherry on top, and just go that a little bit further. Communicate what you're the expert. Clients want to know from you what the key findings are. So yeah, really good point.
Look, we're massively over time, and I'm sure you and I could talk about this all day long. So let's leave it there. Let's say thank you to everyone for joining. And we're here.
Where can they find you, Joe, if someone wants to get in touch with kind of how you do things?
Yeah, so we're all over social, as I'm sure you can imagine. Find me on LinkedIn, but find us at netfosaccountants.co. That is just .co. Trying to be different there. And Dave, you?
Same, LinkedIn, really. Just hit me up on LinkedIn, and I will be happy to help in any way I can.
Cool. Lovely chatting as always, Dave.
You too, man. Great to vibe off you as always. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got some value from this. Even if it's just one little nugget, then yeah, our job is done.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Take care.